What's up, everybody? You're listening to Lo-Fi Faith with Mike and James.
We're two guys who also happen to be pastors, doing our best to have open conversations about what it means to follow Jesus in today's world.
And we're back in the studio.
Woo!
How's it feel?
It feels amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm on top of the world right now. I'm over the moon.
Okay. You're actually sitting in a chair right in front of me.
Yeah, that's called metaphor, James. You familiar with...
Don't understand it.
Okay. Wow. So you, my friend, are a literalist. Okay. So, right. Yeah. That's interesting. So any metaphorical expression I use, any analogy...
Yeah, I actually think you're lying the whole time. Yeah. I think you're a very dishonest man.
Wow.
I've never once seen you over the moon, ever.
You would think
you're not
that
even an astronaut.
if you're not familiar with what metaphor is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I'm very confused by a lot of statements you make.
So if I tell you to chill out.
Yeah. I go outside with a t-shirt on, and that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You realize that means you need to relax.
No, because if it did, you would say relax.
Oh. Okay.
Like,
I don't quite know how to
when someone
talk
says,
to you
I'm
right
burning up, it's like, well, I get the fire extinguisher, because what else would you do?
Yeah. You got into a bit of trouble in your life with this?
Multiple crimes I have been charged with.
Yeah.
And I never understand the reason why.
Right.
Yeah.
Man. I'm starting to realize just how fundamental metaphor is to human expression and the kind of issues you can create in your life if you don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually, this is a strange feeling for me. I'm not familiar with it, but I'm feeling a little bit sorry for you right now. Yeah.
You never have felt that before, have you? For anyone?
No.
Yeah.
Especially not you.
How does it feel? Is it very uncomfortable?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
I wanted to stop right
Someone
now.
stop it, please.
Well, Mikey, I had a question for you before
Sure.
we jump into the subject matter. I was just
Well, we're
curious
not gonna jump into it, James.
Oh.
We're going to.
No, I'm literally going to jump. You'll see it in just a moment.
Okay.
I wish we had a camera. Yeah. No, as soon as we start talking about the actual subject, I will jump.
Okay. You're gonna have to pay the fine for damaging the audio equipment on that one, but yeah, sure. Fire away. And by that I mean ask you a question.
Thank you for clarifying, because that was very dangerous.
That was risky.
I was curious if you had any, what did you want to be when you were growing up? I don't think I've ever asked you this, and I wanted to do it right now with recording in progress. What did you want to be?
Easy. Pro basketball player.
And how did that work out for you?
Not great. Look. Here's the thing. I got to the point of being on the Otago Nuggets development squad.
Woo!
Okay. So who knows if things could have kept going in that direction? Maybe I could have got some dirty bench minutes.
Yeah.
In some games in the New Zealand Basketball League. Unlikely, but could have happened. But yeah, that's about as far as that dream went.
I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty great. I'm not familiar with the Otago Nuggets at all, but I'm sure that's like the farm team for the Denver Nuggets, and that sounds very good.
The farm team?
Yeah.
Yeah. They just go to a bunch of farmers in New Zealand to be like,
oh, now who's literal?
we need was that a metaphor? Because I don't understand that metaphor. I'm being serious.
No, a real farm team in the U.S., especially the baseball system, is like that's how you work your way up into the big leagues.
Right. I thought you were just talking about
You're not actually
New Zealand,
in a farm. No.
New Zealand rural culture.
Yeah. No, I'm not mocking New Zealand rural culture at this time.
That was a genuine misunderstanding of a metaphor there.
We had some cultural issues there.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
So yeah, no, pro b-ball player. Yeah, look, I may be 37 years old, but I think I've still got a shot.
Yeah, no,
I think I've still got a shot.
It's never too late, is what they say.
Yeah.
When they don't want to let you down.
Yeah, that's what I tell myself.
Yeah.
In those moments when I'm crying by myself.
Yeah. Well,
realizing all my hopes and dreams have not been realized, and I tell myself, hey, it's never too late.
It's never too late. And you don't seem like the type of guy who would throw up a half-court shot on the first shot of a game and then immediately get injured and have to leave a tournament early.
Well,
that doesn't seem like your vibe.
I would never do that. Yeah. Apart from one time.
Oh, besides that.
There was that one time.
Yeah, I did witness that.
Although it wasn't immediate injury. It was a few games into the tournament. Yeah.
Yeah.
I should say a few wins into the tournament.
Yeah, and then
And then the groin just snapped.
yeah,
Yeah.
just couldn't handle it anymore.
I was surprised I still had a groin after that, actually.
Anyway, the point is, there's still time. And live your dreams, everybody. I hope that you are able to accomplish more than the Otago Nuggets, as great as they are. And yeah, let's jump in. Follow Lo-Fi Faith with Mike and James on Instagram to keep up with new episodes, behind-the-scenes content, and to join in on the conversation.
All right, James. In our last discussion, our last episode here on Lo-Fi Faith, we talked about the idea of, is everything moral? Is everything morally right or morally wrong? And we sort of delved into that a little bit. We looked at a couple of passages, Romans 14 and 1 Corinthians 8. And what I thought would be worth talking about today is an issue that I've seen come up quite a bit in my experience that I think is like a particular expression of that worldview, where there is an assumption that virtually everything is either right or wrong, and so we need to be very careful about the decisions that we make. And that is an issue about avoiding pagan origins, right? Some Christians fixate on identifying and avoiding anything that might have so-called pagan origins.
Right, which makes sense, right? Because if you think everything is either right or wrong, you're going to start looking at, well, it's going to be originally right or originally wrong.
Yep.
Anything that wasn't based in what we have in our mind as like a Christian and Judeo-Christian like background is going to therefore be pagan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've seen this kind of, the way that this is played out is it becomes almost like a kind of purity culture where we're trying to avoid any, kind of contaminations from any external things, right? So we're trying to understand the origins of something. Does it stem from something supposedly pagan? If so, we need to avoid it. And I'll give you a little story, a particular example of this. So there was a lady that was involved at one of the churches that I was at previously. She was coming along. She was, participating in the worship services, and I'd visited her a few times at her home, done a few Bible studies with her, and she definitely thought along these lines. I remember one time I brought along my drink bottle, right? I'd bring my Nike drink bottle with me.
I see where this is going.
Yeah. So it had the Nike
swoosh.
The Nike logo, the swoosh on it, right? The tick symbol. And I'd seen her kind of looking at it a bit, and then maybe the second or third time I popped over to her house, she brought it up and she said, "Do you know what Nike is?" And I said, "Oh, I kind of already picked up on where she was going." So I said, "Yeah, it was what the name of a Greek god or something like that, right?" She said, "Yeah, no, I wouldn't buy anything Nike." Right, because it's got that pagan.
She was a big Adidas fan.
Yeah. So she kind of like gently but firmly pointed out to me that she was disapproving of my drink bottle because it had a Nike logo on it.
Yeah.
And in her mind, that was an issue. Like there was some link there between this ancient Greek god, and she was obviously to some level uncomfortable with that. So
Sure.
I actually, I went along with that and tried to argue the point.
You
and
sold all your Nike stuff.
I've sold everything.
Went straight to Reebok.
Yeah. But no, what was funny about that is that she also used to tell me that I think she'd recently moved into that home, and she was kind of furnishing it, and she loved Temu. Right, and she used to go to Temu and find all kinds of good deals on certain things. And I didn't have the heart to tell her that Temu was actually the name of an ancient Egyptian god associated with the rising and the setting of the sun.
I
probably should have.
No, you absolutely should have. What are you doing, man?
I think that she would have not known what to do with that information because so much of her house was filled with Temu products.
It probably would have
it would have broken her, and I didn't want to do that. Yeah. But that's an example of kind of what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah, so there's so much to this. Really, we can't break it down in just one conversation. But one thing that I struggle with this mentality, it's like we're always trying to find the reason not to like or not to be okay with something.
Yeah.
No matter what it is.
Yep.
So just recently there's a very famous trend. I'm not even going to name it right now. There's a very famous trend going around with the children, with the youth.
Yep.
And it really is the definition, I would say, of morally neutral. It's meaningless.
Yeah,
it means nothing.
Yeah.
Less than nothing.
And so it's used in so many different contexts.
Yeah.
Right.
But because it's so popular, I swear there's just a group of people who say, if this is popular and it's not inherently biblical,
Yeah.
it's got to be demonic.
And I've just got to find out
I
where.
just have to find it. And so people have done the deep dives. They've done the research. Good on them.
Mm.
And now it's trending across the mothers of Facebook groups. Shout out to the moms. You guys are awesome. But there is now this idea that like just a very simple trend is now demonic and pagan in origin.
And so participating in it.
You are now opening up wormholes.
Doorways.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what it is, it's a very fear-based mentality.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
And go back and listen to our last episode for the context, but like the scriptures we show, I think Paul would be the one saying, hey, this is neither good nor bad.
Yeah.
What matters is how we're approaching the subject and approaching each other.
Yeah.
And just fearing and fear-mongering and shaming people is not going to be the ticket to making disciples of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And we're not supposed to be slaves to fear, right? We are set free from that fear and trying to see paganism in everything. It's very easy to do because everything pretty much has secular origins.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. I want to give a few examples of that because I think that's important when we come to the issue of consistency, trying to genuinely be consistent with that worldview. Just before we go there, I do want to just bring up 1 Corinthians 8 real quick because we talked about that in the previous episode. This is an example, really quick, where Paul deals with this issue of meat that had been sacrificed to an idol and was now being sold in the meat markets, and Christians were debating, is it okay to eat that meat, right? Now, here's the thing. We discussed in the last episode, the last conversation, that Paul basically says it's not right or wrong, but it's more to do with how you're treating people and how you're dealing with this issue internally as part of the community of faith. Now, that's to me pretty significant because let's talk about degrees of separation. How many degrees of separation are there between my Nike drink bottle, for example, and some ancient religion where the god Nike was involved? There's a lot of separation there, right? This drink bottle that was produced in, 2023 or something from this modern sporting brand, okay? And we're kind of connecting this very tenuous link thousands of years back to this ancient Greek god. A lot of degree of separation there, right? But the issue that Paul was dealing with in 1 Corinthians 8, hey, there wasn't so many degrees of separation there. Like this animal had been slaughtered in a pagan sacrificial ritual that was just completely intentionally being offered to this god, and then a few hours later being sold in this meat market.
Right.
And even though the degree of separation is much shorter,
it's minutes.
Right? Paul is saying it's not really an issue. Like, that's not the issue. So if that's not the issue, it seems to me to be a bit of a stretch to say something like a Nike drink bottle could be an issue when the degree of separation is so much larger.
So kind of what you're saying here is Paul acknowledges its pagan origin and
Absolutely.
says that actually has nothing to do with it.
That's it. It was indisputable, the pagan origins.
It's actually about how we are using it in our context as opposed to sometimes even the original intent.
Yeah. What meaning do we assign to it?
And that's really deep, actually. And I think that there's a lot of evidence for this. So, for example, there are a few Psalms that are clearly, I've actually seen them. I've been able to be blessed with a little bit of linguistic understanding, right? And there are some Psalms that are literally like carbon copies of Egyptian Psalms to pagan gods, and they changed the terms. They Christianized it, as we would say, right?
Yeah.
They Judaized it at that time. So they took something that was actually a worship song to another god, changed some of the terminology to make it more in line with their actual belief system, right, with the God of the Bible. And then that's found in our Bible.
Yeah.
One example, just so people can check some of my work, I think it's Psalm 104 is one of the really blatant examples of this, which gives you some interest, right? Like, what if these songs have pagan origins? What if some of our music has pagan origins?
Yeah.
Well, so did the Psalms. So it's not really about, and we're not saying, paganism is all good. What we're saying is how we utilize the objects and the music and the culture in our context actually carries more meaning than the original context and culture.
Absolutely. And I think it's impossible to actually be consistent with that idea of avoiding pagan origins, right? I mean, you've given some examples where of Psalms in Scripture. What about the days of the week? Sunday. Where does
Whoa. Hold
right,
on.
named after the sun, which is a deity worshipped in many, many different cultures. Monday, Moon's Day. Tuesday is named after the Norse god of war and justice. It goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're being consistent, then you're not going to be referring to the days of the week by their traditional names. You've got to come up with some other name.
Yeah, day 1, day 2,
okay,
day 3.
Okay,
You don't do that?
Go right back to Genesis, right? And that's just one example of so many. Right? Like, if you really want to get into this idea of let's go back to the roots, let's make sure there's no pagan origins, you're going to be struggling to find.
And I don't think it's what God asks of us. He doesn't ask us to discover every single root of every single thing. In fact,
that's a great point. Where does God ask us to do this?
Yeah. If you look at the Old Testament and how God was interacting, he was interacting with people with a lot of pagan influences.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he did tell them to, like, hey, get rid of the stuff that you're actively using for pagan reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But he also asked them to get rid of things that were godly when they were becoming idolized as well.
Yes.
Right? Was it Aaron's rod, for example, at some point?
The bronze serpent.
Yeah,
The bronze serpent. The bronze serpent, right?
Yeah, it becomes an object of worship. And so he's like, hey, break that too.
Yeah.
Right? But he doesn't do it because it has pagan origin or non-pagan origin. It's being misused now versus how it was intended to be used.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, I think... I think this is an important discussion because, again, I think it's a source of a lot of conflict, a lot of fear for people. I remember there was another couple that I'd come to know, and they had come across some idea that the logo of this particular church had some kind of satanic or pagan influence.
Of course.
And so they were now, really considering, I don't know if we can come to church anymore because there's a sign up on the church outside. Yeah. It's got the logo there. Right. And so they were like, I just don't feel comfortable now. So people are just like getting into these moral dilemmas.
Well, it draws you in. And then once you start accepting that, like, as your way of filtering the world, well, then what you're going to do is you're going to start seeing, you have to identify, is there pagan origin in everything? And the reality is, yes, there's quote unquote pagan origin in everything. If you look for it, sometimes it's actually there and sometimes it's literally not and you just see it, right? But we've done this with virtually every logo of every major company in the world. If you go on YouTube and you say pagan symbols for logo or whatever and put that company, you're going to find some guy who spent 5 hours explaining to you how this is deeply pagan and deeply terrible. And I get the draw to that because it does feed into our we want to be righteous people, right? But it's also, it wastes your time. Yeah. It wastes your life, and it makes you more afraid of the world as opposed to approaching the world with saying, hey, like, I'm not concerned about any of that stuff because I got something way better that I've got going on, right? Like when I'm living in the love of God and following the example of Jesus, I just don't care what's of pagan origin anymore because I'm too busy trying to do, be loving, be joy-filled, be kind. And
it seems like that idea is granting a whole lot of power to these evil forces. Yeah. Right? It's like, to give the drink bottle example. If I drink from a Nike drink bottle, right, I'm putting myself at risk apparently. Yeah. It's like, wow, I mean, that's a terrifying world to live in. Yeah. It's a terrifying world to live in where it seems like God's power and God's protection
isn't strong enough.
Super limited. Yeah. Right? And so it's really more up to me to not only have my heart in the right place. Right. That's almost more of a side issue. It's more about the actions that I participate in. And I've got to make sure that those actions have zero, involvement with anything that is supposedly of pagan origin. Otherwise, I'm done.
Right. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. Yeah. Right. That's the whole idea. And if you don't have that mentality, look, I bet you can make an argument that houses are of pagan origin, right? The Israelites didn't have houses, not for a long time. And so if we really want to be close to God, we need to get out of our houses. And I guarantee you there's a group of people out there who are in temporary housing intentionally because they feel like that there's some pagan origin to
homelessness is righteousness. You heard it here on Lo-Fi
You heard it here. That's our new slogan.
You're listening to Lo-Fi Faith with Mike and James. The big issue is about intent, right? There's this underlying idea that pagan origins means pagan participation, right? The Bible says that man looks on the outward appearance, but God looks on the heart. Surely, I would hope, I would hope that the God of Scripture, when he sees Mike drinking from his Nike drink bottle, recognizes
I think you should throw it away. But yeah, go on.
recognizes that in doing that, the ancient Greek god Nike is not even anywhere in my consciousness or subconsciousness.
Yeah.
Right? I'm literally quenching my thirst. And it just so happens to be that the brand that I bought was Nike.
Right. And here's the thing about it that I think takes this a step further. We're getting distracted, in my opinion, on the things that don't actually matter.
Yeah.
And then not really speaking on issues that do matter. For example, I have not done a deep dive on Nike's business practices. But like if we were to criticize a company like Nike, to me it's not because they have a pagan symbol and they're named after an ancient god. Are their business practices ethical? How do they source their materials? How are they treating the people that they're working, all along the way? The reason we get cheap stuff, right? Where does that inexpensive overhead come from?
Can we change the subject? Because now you're making me uncomfortable.
I'm making you very uncomfortable.
I was feeling great about my Nike drink bottle.
Yeah. Now you need to actually throw it away. See, that's my point. You should throw it away, but for a totally different reason than what they're saying.
Yeah.
But you get my point, right?
Yeah.
We are majoring in minors.
Yes.
Making ourselves foolish and irrelevant, and at the same time being very fear-based.
Yep.
When there are extremely legitimate issues in this world. These brands are connected to a lot of sports. I love sports. I love to follow sports, but there is a form of hero worship that happens in sports that is deeply unhealthy. Deeply unhealthy. And there's, we could go on about, how gambling has gotten attached to modern sports and how that's tearing lives apart, right? And how it's impacting the purity of the game, for example. There are enough real life issues that are clearly immoral, right? About the treatment of our fellow man than worrying about whether or not we should say Thursday or day 4 or whatever.
I think it's a great point, and I think there are probably a bunch of people who, would, for example, get exposed to a Christian community, and then they see what this Christian community are putting their time and energy towards, and it's like, hey, throw out your Nike drink bottle, or whatever. And
that's what matters.
And that's what matters. And they're kind of like, this what? Like this is not what I want to be a part of.
Or the people who are wanting to be a part of that are probably not the healthiest people in their own, they're willing to be unbalanced in that way. Oh, okay, to be a part of this community, I got to throw away Nike and stop celebrating a certain holiday?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And that's one of the dynamics that I think both of us have seen, where the niche of the demographic that we're appealing to is a very small niche, but they're there. And they tend to be more eccentric people, and they tend to be more comfortable adopting these kind of out there ideas. And so then in these particular churches, most of the quote unquote evangelism that's being done, and most of the people that are being added to the group, are of the very eccentric nature. And so the church becomes more and more and more eccentric and kind of separate from real society as time goes on.
There's nothing wrong with being eccentric, Mike, just to be clear.
Well, you say that as a very eccentric person.
I consider you one of the most eccentric people I've ever met.
No, you don't. No, I'm not eccentric.
However...
I'm electric.
Well, what happens with if we use this as our practice of reaching people, they then think that to follow Jesus means, it doesn't mean living lives of righteousness, right? Being good to the people around us, being selfless in love for everyone, stranger and family member, and in every circumstance, right? And also, what is my responsibility as I participate in systems that may be very, very immoral, right? How do I approach those things? The bigger questions, right? We never touch those issues because we're too busy just telling them, hey, toss away your Nike bottle and you're all good.
Yeah, it's far more about personal purity.
Yeah, so we don't touch their heart really at all.
Yeah.
And so even when we do bring people in, I don't mind if you're eccentric. But are we going to allow you to continue to think that, fear-based mindset is the way to live life?
Yeah.
If so, then that's actually, I think, a form of pagan thinking.
Yeah.
Because pagan thinking is about being afraid of gods that can change at any time.
Yeah, and appeasing a very angry God. And right, if the God of Scripture is this God who is like got this laser focus on every single one of our actions, and he knows whether this thing has pagan origins or not.
Yeah.
And we're participating in this thing that apparently has pagan origins, and he's like, "You're out, mate."
Yeah.
That seems to be a very pagan idea of God.
That's a paganistic view of God.
So ironically, paradoxically,
Hey.
is this worldview actually more pagan
Yeah.
than the very thing they're trying to avoid?
Honestly, I think fear of paganism might be the most pagan mindset that the Christians might have to deal with.
Wow. Okay. Hot take.
There's
take.
an Uno reverse card for you.
Yeah. Well, look, our time is winding up, but I'm pleased we had this conversation, and I would like to challenge anyone who's listening. You know, if you've been exposed to this idea, maybe you're sympathetic to it. I just encourage you, ask the question why. Has God asked this of you? You know, and really start to dig into, is this something that is beneficial? Is this something that is genuinely part of the Christian worldview? Is this something that Scripture requires of you? Because if it's not, to me, it seems to be something that's exhausting, that I don't think is having a benefit on wider society or yourself. So please, would you think about these things?
Please just think.
Just think about them.
Hey, and also on that note, as we close, we are wanting to have conversations that really are important and that matter. And again, you can agree or disagree with our takes on it, but we're always open to ideas of some topics that you might like to hear us spend some time on. And also, if you are finding this meaningful, if you are actually following along pretty regularly, we would love it if you would share some of our content with other people. Not for our own sake. I know we joke a lot about it, but we really do just want to have these conversations more widespread. So we look at what we're doing as a conversation starter for others. And so if you are able to share what we're doing, you find it valuable for yourself, maybe it will be helpful for some other people in your life. And so, yeah, we encourage you to like, subscribe, share, do all of the social media things. And we will hear you next time.
Boom. Well said, Jimmy. Till next time.
Thanks for hanging out with us on Lo-Fi Faith. If something resonated with you today, we'd love it if you shared the show with a friend.
You can catch up on past episodes at plains.org.nz and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We'll be back with a fresh episode in 2 weeks.
See you then.